the duck clamps are metal, and so it's usually like, they got the drawer opens and it's like opening up a trunk.
Do what my dad always did with the tongs on the grill.
It's the Scott and Allie Not for Air podcast. The rules are gone. The shirt is untucked. Here's Scott and Allie.
Hey, it's the Scott and Allie Not for Air podcast. We are locked and loaded for this podcast. I mean, there have been notes made that we have to do. I'm flipping swimming in paperwork over here, and I hate it because Gavin has an eye appointment later. I hate preliminary paperwork when you're going to a doctor. It is like, why do I have to write War and Peace, for Christ's sake?
That must be a kid thing, because I never have pre-paperwork except for when I go on my medical dashboard and they say, can you pre-check in and make sure that all this information is correct? And then I just check all the boxes like, yes, that's my address. Yes, that's my insurance.
Well, how often do you see a new provider? That's where this is all coming from.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's been a very long time.
That's why you don't get it.
The only thing that was different for me is my OBGYN left the company, but it wasn't.
Couldn't take anymore, could he?
Oh my gosh, that's right. Oh my God, I have a great story about that too in a second.
His fill.
And the only thing was choosing a new doctor, which was so tough because you get used to the same person, mining the cave.
My eye doctor just retired, and Gavin's and Lydia's. So yes, that's actually what I'm filling out is Gavin's new. There's an appointment later,
and you have to do it on paper.
Oh God, look at this.
That's so
this
weird.
packet is so insanely thick. And apparently one was supposed to go to his teacher. Well, look at that. Scott's his new teacher.
Are we in 1999?
I swear, eye doctors, most of them. Okay, if you work for
I want to make sure you can read the letters on the paper.
That's actually might be it. I've noticed this. So my eye doctor that just retired, which by the way, not a terribly older individual, just got to the point like your gyno couldn't take anymore, right?
Honestly,
had seen enough. The eye doctor and the gyno had seen enough.
I swear to God. The optometrists, ophthalmologists. Okay. Yeah. I feel like they really have got it. Because I went to the eye doctor the other day, not for an appointment. I wanted to get new contacts. And they were like, oh, well, Dr. So-and-so is going on vacation. I said, this gent is always in Egypt. And he's over in like Morocco. The eyes is the doctor.
It is.
And you always have pretty regular hours, right? You're usually a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Not all eye doctors, but my eye doctor.
Most of them, I think, are on a pretty regimented schedule. Hell, my eye doctor that just retired, before they retired, they were taking Fridays at 10 a.m. off. It's like, okay.
Dentist, too. My dentist, I think, is closed on Friday or maybe a half day. But even with my gyno, this was, oh, my God.
With your gyno, nothing's closed.
Back in the day, and by back in the day, I mean 2020, I was trying to get in. I was having a procedure done, a little lady procedure.
Sure.
And I went to do a follow-up, and they're like, well, every other Friday he takes off. Of course he does.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yes. Yeah.
I feel that is a business that you might need to recharge a little bit,
maybe,
though,
Well, and that's the thing. But the difference between the eye doctor and an OBGYN, babies come when babies come.
Oh, that's true.
So I do understand if he gets called on a Saturday or a Sunday or something like that. But back to the OBGYN.
I got a question now that I think about it too. Finishing off the answer. So both eye doctors, the one that just retired and the one that we're going to use, still are a lot of paper. Now the newer one has some computer, but still, my old one that retired, no computers in the office. I don't know how they did it up into this century. I have no clue. The girls are great, but I don't know how they did it.
That's crazy, because what if there was a fire or something and they lost?
We're screwed.
Yeah.
So now back to your OBGYN, yes.
Oh, I might have told this story before. My the old one, who is no longer with the company, he is married to one of Zach's coworkers. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
Married to one of Zach's coworkers. So there'd be
That's
times.
awful close to.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
There would be times that he would be, mining, and and he would be saying, "Oh, me, you, Zach, and should." I don't want to say their names in case they don't want this to be out there. we should all go to dinner, which is great. I would love to go to dinner with both of them.
No.
But I'm like, while you're mining in the cave, we're talking about hitting up Chili's. Like,
yeah, let me just tell you, I don't even have a vagina on most days. And I just want to say I would not want to go to dinner with my gyno. And who happens to be married to my significant others, this whole connection is way too close.
We're at the dinner table, and it would be like 3 of the 4 people have been in that cave.
Yes. I mean, you might as well just open it up and say, listen, you're the only one here that hasn't. You want to check it out later? And then, I mean, the conversation has actually happened. Like, let's say they got to the table before you guys did. Like, you're running late because you always do.
Yes, I do.
And Hans or whatever his name leans over.
It's always a Hans.
Hans leans over and he's like, this one's pretty clean that we're actually eating with tonight. And, I mean, that sort of conversation has got to have happened. I'm sorry, who doesn't bring some level of work home?
I know. I do. Zach,
that's why we can't get that out of our minds. Like, it doesn't come home.
Zach doesn't. I never hear anything about his work, barely ever. I'll just say, how was your day? And he's like, it was a day. It was a day, which I think is weird. But I will say, also, he does not have anywhere near the exciting job that either you or I or a gyno has. And I think he knows that.
Yeah, I think so.
He's like, I'm not going to bore you with writing a grant for weatherization.
Although I am envious of his skills. I understand there's grants out there for like new windows and stuff for me. And if he could teach me, I'd learn.
Well, and here's another one. Listen to how crazy this is. Then I want to get back to the gyno.
Yes.
So when Zach and I talk about his work, which is like next to never, he has nothing to say. One of my high school girlfriends, I found out, we had kind of lost contact for a while, and I found out that she's in the same industry as him. They have actually communicated. These 2 people have never met in person, and they're like, blah, 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 let's talk about air conditioners.
Yeah,
let's talk about... Yes,
it's what they do.
It is crazy. And then all of a sudden he is a chatty Cathy about work. Who are you?
Well, because they can relate to it. Your average person like us would be bored to a level of dullness that we're like, no.
But back to the OBGYN.
Oh, yes, back to the guy.
When it comes to the I have 2 things to say. When it comes to the conversation while the mining is happening, I guess that's better than total silence, because there's like noises, because I mean, Scott, you've
noises?
You've had babies. You've had babies.
Yes.
And there's like forceps and things like that. Did you go
those noises.
Did you go to any of the preliminary appointments?
Yeah, but I don't recall a whole lot of, I don't remember how much, internals there were done.
The duck clamps are metal, and so it's usually like, they got the drawer opens and it's like opening up a junk.
Do what my dad always did with the tongs on the grill. Tick, 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 tick. And that's when you get off the stirrups and you're like, I gotta go.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna observe that next time.
Yeah.
Did I tell you?
Because tongs. You can't grab tongs for the grill without going click, 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 click.
Exactly. Did I tell you the last time I went to New Gyno? And
here it is, a conversation we don't have. One of the rare ones.
Well, we are today. So I went to New Gyno, and everyone is wearing masks because it's a hospital. So,
sounds like a country. Went to Papua New Gyno.
And the nurse, the person assisting the OBGYN, she looked familiar, but she's wearing a mask. And I was like, gosh, I kept thinking, you look familiar.
I do know this story.
Okay.
But you have to, now that you're this far in, you have to.
I couldn't remember if I told this one or not.
Yeah.
And I said, I just got to say, you look so familiar. And she was like, you were at my wedding.
Yeah, well, there. Yeah.
She had married one of our old coworkers. They're no longer married, hadn't seen her in forever. So it's just so funny that I was like, I got to watch you walk down the aisle. You got to watch me
to watch my wedding hole.
I'm totally calling it a wedding hole from this point on.
Yes, you are.
Oh my gosh, what a great name.
Thank you very much. It sort of sums it all up. If you think about it. I got a question. Wait, what was your other gyno thing? Then I'll ask my question. Maybe it'll trigger.
No, I don't remember. Okay,
it'll trigger. I know. I got you between the tongue duck flaps.
I do remember now.
Here we go.
Okay, my college roommate, one of them, she married a guy now. And at the time, he was a little bit older, so he was doing his residency when we were in college. And I had said to him, like, is it weird to go to be at your job, to go to work and look and mine all the caves and then come home to my college roommate? And he said, well, you have to think of it like at the time they were boyfriend, girlfriend. My girlfriend is like the diamond, because sometimes people will come to me in the most dire of situations.
Oh, yeah.
So that was the only thing he ever said. We never talked about specifics really, but I had another girlfriend that worked for a gyno. Now she was in the admin, more of the admin side, or she was in the room sometimes.
She was the one that was filling out the paperwork with the pencil that if the old joke, it's like throwing a pencil down a mine shaft.
Yeah.
I got it.
But she did tell me some horror stories.
Oh, I can imagine.
I can't.
And we're not saying horror. We're saying horror.
Horror stories.
Yes.
I can't.
I'm sure there's horror stories, but this is horror.
Yes. I can't even get into it on this podcast because it gets pretty disgusting.
Wow, we've even crossed the line for this, and this is one area that... Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Because you sort of danced around, obviously birthing and stuff like that. One of the biggest fears is pooping on the table during... many women have this fear, pooping on the table during a childbirth, because there's a lot of pushing and a lot of straining.
Why fear it?
I'm not talking the air being released from the lady part only.
You're talking about a queef?
Well, yeah, okay, there's that. I'm not talking that. But anybody ever fart like out the fart hole while like have you ever blown the toupee back while the doctor's down there mining the cave?
Oh, no, I have not.
Okay.
No.
Wonder if anybody listening has had that happen. How red do you go at that point? Like you kind of know if he's, if they're in there, looking for coal or diamonds, whatever the case may be, you kind of know sometimes air enters that cavern, and that's okay. That's expected because that happens. But the other one, it's right there, I
get that.
What if you had tacos the night before?
I get that. I'll let you know next time, but I don't think that's ever happened.
Maybe you can ask the doctor for us. Hey,
sure,
Doc.
Sure. While we're at dinner.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go through the list. We have had to make notes on things to cover.
The first one was, what's the update on Easter? You had, on the last episode, had said that your significant other's family was not coming for Easter.
Right.
Because they had made some excuse that they have to go shopping and do their weekly stuff like laundry and whatever.
Yeah, and I discovered more of that. I actually really feel bad for 6059 because she had said, she goes, yeah, this has been my whole life. The family just is not big into celebrating holidays, which then
is that why she's so into it?
Yes, she loves it, and her family's just not terribly into it. And I had speculated, and now my speculation has changed. So I had speculated, could it have been a fear that a conversation may have come up revolving the one sister that can't make a good decision to save her life? And I had said in the last podcast, I said, if that fear had come up, then 6059's mother should have said to 6059 prior to coming, listen, can we avoid anything to do with the choices that have been made or are being made, in which case it trickles down and goes, hey, we're going to steer clear of this. Okay, that's fine. Not that it was like, I'm ready and raring to go to rip into, the middle sister there because, of the decision making. That was never my intention, but you could be a little more sensitive to going, we're just not going to go there. No, I feel bad because apparently a lot of times what ends up happening to 6059, she's big into the holidays. She wants to do the things and then they get canceled. And then if she makes a stink about it, and this is a terrible position to be in, if she tries to make a stink about it, which is why she doesn't, they circle talk. And you know what I mean by circle talk? It starts here, but until the point that they want to make is made, they will talk their way through it until it's back at her. And she's like, I just don't feel like putting forth that mental energy of dealing with that. She, of the circle talking of excuses or whatever. She's like, no, you know what? If that's the case, if that's there, and I do applaud this on her part. If that's the choice they've made, then that's the choice they've made. I was taking it more personal the last podcast, if you remember.
I still would take it personally, but I know that, and I think a lot of couples have this. There are certain times before we go to family things, Zack and I will say, we're not going to talk about this. If this comes up, don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Avoid it. Just don't get engaged in it. That's just something. So even if that the decision, the woman who can't make a good decision, even that if that would have came up, I think just it's best to avoid it.
Sure.
Because it's not your life.
And it's not. I can't control it. There's nothing I can do with it.
And it's not really affecting you, but it kind of does because of two things. The first one is it's still 6059's family. So them being there affects you because she's hurt by it. So you are protective of her. And that makes so much sense. The other thing is, and this is why I was kind of annoyed by it, is you had just, the one woman who can't make a good decision, you had just helped her in a big way.
Oh, yes.
And can I say how you helped her now?
It helped her move.
Right.
And there was a huge financial expense that 6059 put out on that. And in turn, and this is what I mean by the circle talking, it was originally said by one of the family members, we're going to help with that because it was hundreds of dollars she put out, right? Well, it got to the point where 6059 told the other family member, not the one that can't make a good decision, that was already expected. They weren't going to chip in anything because they have no money. And it was going to be helped financially as a reimbursement to 6059. Well, 6059 did present what a roundabout number was. And nothing has been said since about it as far as a reimbursement. But here's where I feel bad for 6059. And now I do have a better understanding. I give her credit at the same time. I give her credit because she's a bigger person than me because I still make comments about it. Because you know what? Financially, I've helped as well. And I haven't seen a dime of it back. And yep, that's frustrating because I have other mouths to feed and other responsibilities to take care of. It didn't cramp me, but it annoyed me and still does. But now I understand why it falls flat. It was mentioned, nothing was done about it. And if 6059 was to do more and say more, it would get circle talked back. It's like I told you the story years ago, how I remember this vividly. And this is how I learned, never go to dinner with my friend Rob unless you know he has money in his pocket.
Yep.
We got to dinner. He was the one that originally suggested it years ago. We went to dinner. We both ate. He then realized, I don't have any money. And that's where you are screwed and stuck. And she just doesn't want to deal with that. And you know what? She said it's been like that her whole life. And I said, okay. I get it.
That person that was going to help financially, she now has to almost expect that they're not going to pay her back, which
she's settled into that. She's never going to see a dime of it back.
Which also sucks too, because you guys were wanting to still have great memories and hang out together, despite the fact that one wasn't helping out at all because she can't make a good decision. And you helped her. And then the other one financially wasn't pitching in. So now you guys were putting all those feelings aside to have a lovely Easter. And what you're saying is they still didn't show up, right?
No, they still didn't. They still used the excuse that the weekends are their days to do what they need to do, even though we had said, really, you couldn't get it done on Saturday that one weekend?
We can all pitch it. We can all set aside time to help this one who makes bad decisions, but you can't set aside time to come to my house and break bread with me?
And it was told to me that's the way it's always been. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I know that's the way it's always been, I will be questioning whether or not help is appropriate in the future.
Right. Good
at
for
least
you.
from me. At least from me. I cannot stop her. If 6059 wants to aid in some way, being the fact that it's her family, whether she likes the outcome or not, that's fine. But you know what? My time's worth something.
Money or muscle.
Right. And I'm not going to not have Thanksgiving or Christmas and have the invites out there. They will be out there. But I will tell you, the more that the no comes down, the more it will become we may make other plans ourselves. And when it's not mentioned that there's going to be a get together, don't ask me about it.
We had a listener once had talked about phasing out her family because it was too much emotional stress. And I think that it's fine. As weird as it's not common and it's not accepted, if that's the boundary you have to set, then that's the boundary you have to set. And I was even thinking it. Eventually, I would just say, I'm not going there anymore. I'm not participating. And I know that
I'll see you when I see you.
You are so forgiving when it comes to that. You don't hold the grudges that I do. But I don't even know if it's always holding grudges. It's just me setting those boundaries. And I really would have a hard time doing anything family-wise from this point on, especially after I helped her move. On your Saturday, that, by the way, I don't know if you remember this or not, you could have made money.
We had a broadcast that day.
You had the opportunity to make money, and instead I got the broadcast, so I'm the one that made the money that day.
I forgot about that as well. Thanks for making that worse. All right, next on the list.
Okay, let me go back to the list really quick.
Because okay.
We had talked very briefly about how I received 2 phone calls outside of work. I was at the gym, and at the first phone call, I picked it up because it was somebody who I have not worked with a very long time. And I just thought, well, maybe I should pick this up. Maybe it's something she really, really needs. So I'm at the gym and I'm like, hello. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I'm at the gym. And she's like, okay, never mind. Call me later. Okay. Well, then some time passes, not a whole lot of time, but some time passes. And then Scott calls and I was like, okay, 2 people are calling outside of business hours. Something's up. So then you and I did talk.
Yep.
And here's what it was.
Now, wait a minute. Before you say this, did you talk to the GM? Or
no.
Should we do this without any names mentioned?
No names.
Okay.
But we'll tell what happened.
Okay, perfect.
So we had a promotion, an adult Easter egg hunt. And people were paying $20 to come in, and they were getting 5 prizes.
Guaranteed 5 prizes.
Guaranteed. Yeah. There was wine and beer tastings. There was also music. And then you got guaranteed, and there's a smattering of things. I'll just name a few. You could have gotten an entire bottle of wine. You could have got a little mini. You could have gotten a pre-roll, which is cannabis. You could have gotten a
golf package.
A golf package, an overnight stay at Tioga Downs.
Yeah, this was loaded.
Restaurant gift cards. So it was just, you didn't know what you were getting because it was like Chuck E. Cheese. So you would get the eggs and then you'd turn them in as if you were at Chuck E. Cheese, and they would go, okay, this egg means you got this prize. This egg means you got this prize. So one of the prizes, like I said, was cannabis. Now, not everyone partakes. Not everyone drinks either, but you might get a bottle of wine. Not everybody loves Italian food, but you might get
Not everybody golfs, but you might have gotten a golf package.
Yes, exactly. So this person did not get a ticket. It was sold out prior to them getting a ticket. So they had reached out to me and said, can I get a ticket? I said, no, I have enough eggs.
We were capped.
Yeah, we're capped. I have enough eggs for exactly the amount of people that are going to be at our event. Okay. I'm at the door. I'm checking people in. This person does not have a ticket. And I said to him, sir, you and I talked. You don't have a ticket. I know, but my 2 people that I have with me, they did get tickets. So I'm just going to hang out with them. Against my better judgment, I let that person in. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't really think anything.
Now, they didn't partake in the actions of being able to win the prizes, i.e.
I wouldn't think so.
Getting the eggs.
I wouldn't think so. But, what happened behind the table, I don't know. But here's what happened. According to this person, they were turning in the eggs. Now, they acted like they were speaking on behalf of one of the ticket holders, that they got their 5 eggs and one of them was a cannabis product. And they sent me a message and they said, I just want you to know, I feel like it was being pushed on me. No, first of all,
that was actually promoted all the way through. Our title sponsor for that event happened to be said supplier of the prizes was a cannabis location. There was no secret that was a monetary exchange between that business and our company, which accepted it and said, yes, you may be our title sponsor. And they were good enough to supply quite a few prizes as well. Not everybody, like you said, partakes.
Right. And so what you get in your eggs is all based on what you pick up. Now, I know you don't know what you're getting, but regardless, there's no pushing. It's just, here's your prizes. That's it. So he had messaged me after they had messaged me after the event. And first of all, why are you messaging me?
Yeah, you didn't even buy a ticket.
You didn't even have a ticket. And then I said at this point, I love my significant other. I really do. And I think he's in the right on this. So it was the evening of the adult Easter egg hunt. My significant other and I are at a concert. And I checked this message. And my significant other says to me, he's like, this is not your problem. You're not the manager. I understand you put the event together, but you're not the manager. This complaint should not be you. So my significant other is in management. And he goes, you need to tell him if he has any complaints or anything like that, here's the person who is the person to complain to. The operations manager's name is, here's her phone number. So I did that. And all of a sudden, here's why I got the phone call from Scott. And here's why I got the phone call from the other person. Apparently, he really did call them at the front office and said, I want a complaint.
Oh, it went beyond. You gave the information for the person to talk to. They went beyond that, full Karen mode, to the general manager. So bypass the person that who technically is the supervisor for the department, bypass that person, went right to the top level of it there.
Yep. And so you guys were just informing me that this actually came to fruition. And I said, they have no leg to stand on with this complaint. They technically never had a ticket. And that is why...
the individual that was complaining never had the ticket.
Right. And that's why...
Nor did technically the people that said individual was supposedly complaining for, they had no leg to stand on with any sort of a complaint because, again, it was widely known, both online when you would buy tickets, on air, whenever it was talked about.
That you could get a golf package. You could get a pre-roll.
And it's sponsored by this company.
Right. And I just was so mad. And I said, I knew I shouldn't have let that person in.
Yeah.
And now they took advantage of me being kind by letting them in and then still complained. I think that we should ban this person from our events.
Completely.
Now, I don't know if
it's an event where it's literally free to walk through, like an event at a park. I can't ban you from that. Right. Okay. I can't hang, I don't have posters I'm going to put up and say, if you see this prize pig, please escort them out of the area, or chronic complainer we could call. You can't do that. However, I can damn well make sure that you're not going to participate if there's a game being played.
Right. And that's how I feel too, because it's never going to be good enough. And we used to have this, there's other things that I have worked at or around. For instance, I worked at a restaurant for a very long time, and we had this one couple that they always came in and they always complained. And it got to the point, and I felt like this is a really valuable lesson. I had a really cool GM at that restaurant, and it got to a point where he said, you're no longer welcome at our restaurant because we apparently never do it well enough for you, so we're not here for you. And they were
That's
never...
a great way to put it.
Right. They were never allowed back. And that's how I think that we should handle this guy too, because this person too, because I cannot believe that complaint came in.
Yeah, no. And again, the key part to it is two elements. They were not ticket purchasers or holders. That gives you...
That eats me so bad.
Depending on the situation, had it been something different, that does absolutely open the door for you to be able to register a grievance or register some sort of concern or maybe even a full-blown complaint. But since there was no purchase into the event, whether you're speaking for another person or not, first of all, I want to hear from the other person. I want to hear from the person directly. And don't tell me they can't communicate it, because clearly they were well enough to be able to come to the event. So you're good enough for that, but you can't anyway.
Yep.
So yeah, it's I'm 1,000% with you. And by the way, I want to point something out. I'm not trying to take away someone's power to give their opinion or give their feelings on a situation.
Agreed.
Okay, that is, I don't want to make lighter of what could have been any other situation, a genuine concern of something, by pulling that power away.
But we had these rules.
But in this case, you have no power, sir.
Right.
Because you did not buy a ticket. You were allowed to walk around with the people that did. By the way, that'll never happen again. So if anybody else listening to this goes, oh, well, that's how we'll get in next time. No, it won't. Nope. Learn that lesson, unfortunately, the hard way, because somebody just couldn't play decent.
And this was our first time doing this event. Yeah. So that really tainted me on that, because for the most part, I feel like I try to be accommodating for all events and people who can participate. I'm such an inclusive person. I was like, I can't wait to exclude you. Now, because we are on a little bit of a time crunch, we're going to hit the other one or two things as fast as we possibly can.
Let's go.
The third one on the list was, I thought Zack was going to propose.
Oh, yes.
So
your anniversary was earlier. Well, when this comes out last week.
Yes. We celebrated our 6-year anniversary. And something that we like to do is go back to the place that we had our first date. Now, we frequent this place actually pretty often, but it was a coffee shop. So we went to the coffee shop, and on our first date, we got coffee. We walked down Market Street. We walked to like Centerway Square. And so we kind of did that all over again. Well, just recently, Zack had pulled his back a little bit. So he was not wanting to like walk a ton around. So we get to Centerway Square, and there was actually a photo shoot that was a little scandalous. The person wasn't wearing a ton of clothes, and that was happening around the area that we had our first date as well, where we like sat down and chitty chatted on our first date. So instead of going over there, because they were obviously in a photo shoot, we didn't want to be in their pictures or anything like that. So Zack was like, why don't we go back here? And so there's the main Market Street. And if you've never been in this place, I'll kind of describe this a little bit. There is a parking garage, and then behind the parking garage is a set of railroad tracks.
Well, this sounds like a place you're ready to be beheaded at.
So luckily, we've been together 6 years.
Yeah.
But there's also really pretty trees and really pretty landscaping back there, because it's also right around Corning Incorporated. And he
might be their property.
Oh, it probably is. And so he said, why don't we go back here and walk back to the car this way? And Zack is a really, really private person. And I've always said as well that I don't want to be proposed to in front of a lot of people. Definitely not my family. As much as I love my family, like
absolutely in front of a scantily clad photo shoot.
I just wanted it to be really personal between him and I. And so as it's our 6-year anniversary, hitting up the place we had the first date, and then he suggests a private walk. I was like, oh, he is going to propose right here. Oh my God. So I'm like kind of like shaking a little bit and like looking around. I even was looking at his pocket to see if there was a square bulge.
A bump.
Yes. Yeah. And I couldn't tell. I was like, dang it. So he never proposed, but I thought that he was going to propose that day. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Not shocked.
Too easy. Next.
Oh, okay. All right. The last one it was something we talked about on the show. Let me get my list out.
Is this the story you refused to tell on the air because you said, well, it doesn't exactly put me in the best light? And we said, well, maybe for the podcast.
Doesn't put me in the best light. It's a decision.
But you were 23. I was 23. It was forever ago. It was the decision making that happens when you're 23 versus 42.
Right. It was that, and also nothing illegal happened.
Oh, that's good.
So what it was...
I almost said rare. Sorry.
What it was...
Hey, wait, did this stem from the story that we told on the air of how the postal worker ended up finding a house party on their route, and they were... they ended up getting a DUI, probably lost their job. I shouldn't laugh at it, but it was like... I get... When we told the story, I'm like, your mail carrier is delivering the mail, say between 11 in the morning and at the latest 4 or 5 in the afternoon in a weekday. Like, what thumping house parties going on? They're like, come on in, let's get rocked.
And there was something in the story about losing a car.
Oh, that's right. It was the follow-up story. It was the bachelor. This guy went to a bachelor party, lost his car for 3 weeks, couldn't remember where it was parked. Now, that's a party.
That's what it was.
It happened in Ireland.
And I said, I lost my car once. So I was 23 years old, and a friend of mine had passed away right when I moved here 19 years ago. And every single year we celebrate his birthday with his mom, with his sister. We make it a big thing. We like always go to lunch. Sometimes we'll go bowling. We'll go and have cocktails, and it's a big deal. Well, he at this point had only been deceased for like a year or two. So this is one of our first years doing it. We're going hard. And by hard, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we hang out all day long. Everything's great. I spend the night at my best friend's house. And the next day he has to go to work. And I was like, oh, can you take me to my car? And he was like, yeah, absolutely. So I get in his car because I knew that I had walked home from the bar, so I wouldn't be drinking and driving.
Good. Okay. See, good decision so far.
Yes. Yeah. So he takes me to said bar. My car's not there, and I'm like, where the heck is my car? So we're now driving like around some side streets and things like that. I was like, where the heck is my car? It ended up where we call our other friend, who actually was his roommate at the time, call our other friend. And I was like, hey, I can't find my car. And he's like, girlfriend, I drove your car home last night. You guys walked. And then, so he goes, your car is on the street right next to our house. So we go back and there was my car right next to my
The whole time you never had to get in your friend's car and drive somewhere. No. It was parked right there. Yeah. Actually, that's a really good friend.
I know.
Although I understand that's a little different. I didn't know the angle was, and this doesn't put you in a bad light. This is actually.
But at the time we were talking about it on the air, it was one of those like, kids could be listening.
Oh, I applaud you for saying you were walking home and someone else drove it. I think everything about this was absolutely the right conversation.
I didn't remember him driving.
But that's okay. I mean, that's different, you know. But the thing about it is you wouldn't have remembered from the night before if he said, well, I'll drive your car back home or anything like that. Oh, my God.
So I lost my car, kind of.
Yeah, you didn't.
but I found it.
Your car found you.
Yes. It was great. So that was the end of that story.
Well, see, that wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't terrible. It just wasn't something that I thought, if your young child was listening, that might not have been the best thing ever.
Back to fart jokes then in the morning. What else? Did we get everything?
We hit everything on the list.
Wow, guys.
Shocking.
That was a big one right there. We got through it all until somebody messages us and goes, no, you forgot to say this, in which case that'll be next week. So.
And I should take notes while we're doing this, but I'm just so in the moment.
Oh, we're going.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God. For those that don't know, in case you missed this, which it's been on social media and we talked about it on the show the whole time, Ginger the Pug and the 7 puppies, which started to be born on Sunday into Monday last week. So in case anybody didn't know, Ginger the Pug has 7 healthy babies, all boys. I didn't get one girl out of this. And
I can't believe that.
Oh, my God. And they're all doing great. They're all very cute. And the kids are loving it because, well, they have 7, puppies that are this big. They look like hamsters almost.
What if you actually find out that one of them is a girl, but it just was hard to tell because they have such small genitals?
Well, then that'll be one that'll stay for sure. Because there's, Ginger's firstborn is a spitting image of Ginger, albeit a boy instead of a girl. Mm-hmm. He's going to stay. There is another one with a big head, which we think is more like Finn, who is the father, who, apparently he's liked by the kids, and by 60-59, he probably will stay.
Okay.
And then I'm very soft on the last born one because I'm always making sure, I always ask, did the last born one get on a boob? Because, a lot of times last born, are they getting it? So I don't know if we're going to hang on to 2 or 3 of them. Some will go.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah.
Have you guys talked names yet?
A little bit. That's the hard part. Everybody says you start naming, look out, because the attachment's there. Mm-hmm. So I think first and foremost, we try to decide pretty much, like I said, the first one, which is a spinning image of mom, you almost have to, it's like, because here's the thing, Ginger's 100% pug, Finn is 50-50. He's 50% pug, we think 50% Jack Russell. Mm-hmm. So to get one that looks exactly like mom, even though there's some other DNA in there, it's like, oh, you kind of gotta, Oh
my gosh, I can't believe you have 9 dogs in your house right now.
It's a little crazy. Are you coming over to see him at some point? When's the last time you saw brand new puppies?
I don't know if I've ever seen a brand new puppy.
Oh, you got to come see him.
Yeah, because I got my dog when he was 4. So
sure.
Yeah, I'll definitely come over. I'm trying to think I have a wedding tomorrow, so it would have to be.
Well, wait, don't you go to church in Elmira on Sundays?
Yeah,
Sunday it is. Just come after church before you hit the holy trinity of Target, TJ Maxx, and wherever else.
Yeah, here, there, and everywhere. All righty, I'll do it on Sunday.
All right, we'll see you all next week, and thanks for letting us catch up.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. Wasn't that fun? That was fun. Do us a favor, will you? Subscribe. Share the Scott and Alley Not for Air podcast. Touch our buttons. We know you want to.